Can you hear me? Wow. Hola, Spain. Hola, Barcelona. I'm so happy to be here. One of my favorite cities in the world. I'm back again. I came now from Vienna in Austria. I had 2 trainings there, and it was beautiful there as well, but Barcelona is always Barcelona, right? The sea and everything, the people, the food. Yay. Let's see if we can get this machine working also. Okay. I actually made a new talk for you. I have had talks with the same title, but this is actually something that I changed yesterday, so it's perfectly new for you. This picture was taken this summer in Smögen, in my summer house, with 19 beautiful people from 15 different countries. Together, we crafted the Agile People Manifesto. And I'm very happy to be able to present to you today the Agile People Manifesto in Spanish. There you go. Seems like it's not working that well. Let's see. Maybe I need to keep myself on this side of the place. Agile People Manifesto to guide us into the future. How do we need to work in organizations for the future? How do we need to work with people? Business agility, you know, which is on every manager's lips today. Might be the most important thing of all. We know we cannot make people perform, we cannot make people learn, and we cannot make people motivated. We can only help people really to find it within themselves. And they can only learn and perform when they are intrinsically motivated. And I would like to elaborate a bit on that here today. There is some research made by a woman called Amy Edmondson from Harvard Business School, and she looked at what is common between motivation, accountability, and psychological safety. Because when we have high values on psychological safety, and when we have high values on motivation, then we are open to be able to learn, to perform, and really to give our whole selves to the organization. If you have low levels of psychological safety, high levels of motivation, you're extremely frustrated. And that would be me after 6 months in a new big traditional organization, trying to change them towards greater business agility. Some people are very comfortable where they are. They are psychologically safe, but not so motivated. We'll talk about what is engagement later in this talk. And of course, the worst place to be is to have low levels on both. So it's only when we increase both that we can really get people who are open for learning, open for changing, open for adapting, for being creative and innovative so that they can help to create tomorrow's products and services that our customers want and need. Now, I would like you actually to be a bit active yourselves. Stand up, turn to your neighbor, say your name, present yourself briefly, and then ask him or her how last time when they were fully engaged working, why was that? Why were you fully engaged last time? One time when you were fully engaged. So please stand up, everybody. Thank you. You may sit down. Good. So a bit of an icebreaker with the people around you. I am Pia Maria. I am the founder of Agile People, which is a movement, a network in the world for unleashing human potential, making people being able to really found that intrinsic motivation within themselves, bring that to work, and by that being adaptable and creative. I started actually in my career in the beginning, I used to implement big talent management systems for HR and rolling out these big people systems all over the world for large Swedish corporations. I realized after 10 years of doing that I was not creating very much value for my customers. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to try something new. I became an Agile Master in 2009, and from that moment, then I actually finalized that course. My life changed because I understood that I'm an Agile person. This is my state of being, and this is the way that we need to work in organizations. So then I spent the rest until now of my work life to work with Agile HR and Agile leadership, trying to change HR and leaders to really unleash people's potential instead of hindering it by too rigid structures in organizations. You know, HR and finance hold on to the most rigid structures in organizations in today's companies. It's the fixed budgets linked to fixed performance targets and rewards that limit us to actually increase business agility in organizations. My last book is a picture book. It's called the Agile People Picture Book. And it was born out of... I went to South Africa last year, and there I met Elsa Simpson. She was part of my training in South Africa in Cape Town. And she said to me, you know, my husband, his name is Nico Simpson, and he drew 200 pictures after reading your book. And here they are. So we made a book of all these pictures that Nico drew. And Elsa helped to write some statements, and we put it all together. And now it's available on Amazon. And I think it's a beautiful gift to give to your managers, to your boards, to your top management teams, because it's really easy, you know. And they need something easy. They need something that they can watch instead of reading a lot of text. They want quickly to see what is this Agile thing about. So I can really recommend buying that. I know many HR managers who have done that. Another person who wrote a fantastic book is Douglas MacGregor. And in this book, The Human Side of Enterprise, which he wrote already in the 1950s, the late 1950s, he talks about X and Y, the human view X and Y. And I need to come back to this view every time I have a speech, because it's the basics of how do we see other people. What is it about? For those of you who never heard about human view X and human view Y, human view X is about thinking that people are lazy, they are unmotivated by nature, they don't want to perform. Really, we need to dangle a carrot in front of them or whip them with a stick for them to perform. They don't want to take any responsibility in organizations. If we believe in Y, on the other hand, we know that people are motivated by themselves, by their intrinsic drive to realize their own potential, to be the best people they can be in this world. And we don't have to motivate them with rewards or bonuses or carrots. So, a question to you, how do you see yourselves? Do you see yourself as an X person? Up with a hand. No? Okay, you're not lazy and unmotivated? Okay, good. Who is a Y person? Oh, now we have some hands in the air, great. A lot of Y people in here today. I like that. So we are motivated, we are not lazy, and we want to take responsibility in organizations. Yes, so that's what it's all about. But we all know some X people, right? Probably not, because that's only a prejudice that we have about other people. Why is this view of how we see other people important? Because how we view other people affect how we structure our management processes. So this is what we do often in mechanic organization with a very rigid structure of how we do things, fixed processes, details, systems, routines, checklists, reports. This is the way we do things about here. Just follow the template and you are fine. You don't have to think. Just do this and that. Micromanagement. Agile, as we know, is not a recipe for success. Actually, best practice is old practice, and only mediocre companies today use best practice, I would say. So you will never be better than your competitors if you use best practice today. You need to invent something new. You need to experiment and learn. So that's why we in Agile work more with principles than methods and tools and models. Principles, values, and mindset become our most important tools for being able to adapt, perform, and continuously learn and improve. Having said that, Agile is not a recipe for success. I'm going to give you a simple recipe for changing the system. Aha. Remove the old limiting structures, mainly from finance and HR. This is the most difficult part, by the way. Increase supporting structures. That's a bit more easy. We use maybe Scrum and Kanban, objectives and key results. We can turn to beyond budgeting and other tools to support people to behave in new ways. So then we support also all our employees to act according to the Agile principles and the values and the mindset. This way you can remove impediments and increase conditions for improving the system, because it's all about the system. Repeat from one, because these structures have a tendency to creep back if you leave them. It's called bureaucracy, and that happens when companies grow and we don't keep a very strict eye on what is happening to our structures now. Are we all building back all these finance and HR structures in organizations? Okay, we're going to drill down into the problems, some common problems that organizations have today. My friend Ari van Bennekom, he came to Sweden and he talked about that many groups in organizations want to increase business agility. We have the teams at the bottom. Obviously, they love Agile. They like to work in this way. And we have top management, the boards. They are totally convinced that business agility is something that we have to have for the future. I'm not sure that they know what they are talking about when they talk about agility. But anyway, they know they want it because everybody else wants it. It's just this layer in the middle management. He calls it the permafrost layer. That's where everything stops. Siberia, it's frozen. And of course, why not? Managers from the old paradigm are scared. What is this new thing? Agile or business agility? What will happen to me when our company becomes agile? I have worked hard to get where I am. I have now high status, I have a high position, I have a good salary, and I have a lot of freedom. Should I give up all this just because some people think that this agile stuff is a new cool thing to work with? So we get passive leadership in the best case. People who don't move. So that's the permafrost layer. And we need to take this fear seriously, because the only way we can change that is to start to understanding these managers' basic needs and why they do what they do, and try to give it to them in new and different ways. The state of the global workplace, that's another problem area that we have. Very low engagement in the companies. 15%, according to this Gallup research from 2017, 15% of the workforce in the world are actively, truly engaged and drive themselves with passion towards company goals. 18% are actively disengaged and try to ruin the stuff that these 15% build up. But you see the big potential here? It's the 67% in the middle. 67% who are more or less indifferent, waiting for lunch or for the workday to end. Here we can make a huge difference. HR has a tendency to focus on talents, that would be the high performers, the engaged high performers, and weak performers, the people who we put on PIPs, performance improvement plans. Instead, we should focus on the 67% in the middle. And this is a hidden source of return on investment that management often doesn't see. They don't see it. They see people just as a cost in the balance sheet, not as the great asset that they are. So what is it really that makes people engaged at work? What is it that is the most important things that people want out of work? Well, it's about knowing what is expected of me every day. It's about having the tools and the equipment so that I can do my job in a good way. It's about doing what I do best every day. It's about being seen as a person. Somebody seems to care about me in this company. Somebody seems to respect my opinion. Somebody seems to listen to what I say. It's about being seen and being heard and being a person. Deep human needs. That's what's most important for people at work, according to Gallup. And they have looked at 155 different countries, hundreds of thousands of employees all across the world, all different industries, all different kinds of roles. So quite some evidence, I would say. Other problems, well, performance ratings, performance reviews, big problems, structure that needs to go. A year is too long to set goals. There is no proactivity here because we focus mainly on judging the past. And does the boss really know best how I have performed? Maybe it's other people in the organization who knows better than the boss. Then we have this connection to compensation, to salaries. Of course, I will not stretch myself if I know that my salary is connected to my goals. And if I reach them, I get that salary. Of course, I will keep them kind of low. That's only normal and natural. We get a lot of sub-optimizing effects that breeds competition, not collaboration in organizations when we work with rewards linked to fixed performance targets. And we focus on the wrong things, just results, not behaviors. Another big problem is that people with targets will probably reach their targets even if they destroy the enterprise, William Edwards Deming. And a system will beat a good person, a bad system will beat a good person every time. That means that if you have a high performer, fantastic worker, you put them in a bad system, of course they will not be able to perform. Or if you have a mediocre, just common, normal person, you put them in a good system, they will perform, they will thrive, they will reach goals, they will learn, they will be fantastic. It's about the system, 95-5 rule. 95% of performance depends on the system, 5% only on the people. About control, which is also a problem because managers are chasing control all the time. So the definition is the power to influence or direct people's behavior or the course of events. And in business terms, it means controlling people and controlling the future. And this is the grand illusion that all managers have, that people can and must be managed, and that the future is predictable and manageable. And of course, managers spend a lot of time trying to predict the future in useless work, doing business planning and budgets. There is no crystal ball. We cannot look into the future, and we cannot also control people. They are not controllable. Budget problems, very time-consuming processes, assumptions are very quickly outdated, stimulates a lot of unethical behaviors where people try to, compete with each other. The company politics takes over. It creates a lot of illusions of control, and decisions are made too early and often way too high in the organization, when the knowledge is with the people out there in the network, as we know. It guarantees planned costs, but not planned revenues. And it can prevent other value-adding activities, which we could have done if we didn't have such strict budgets. So job descriptions, they are boxes for standing on, not living in. We are so busy, categorizing and labeling people. We put them in boxes, we put a label on them, we say they are high performers, low performers, weak performers, average performers. They are a 1 or a 2 or a 3 on a scale. They are this and that. They belong to a certain job family. They have this competency profile. They are 2 in one competency, 3 in another one. Can we really put people in boxes like that and categorize people? Probably not. But what should we do instead? We think that this mechanic view of organization is efficient, but it's really not. We need to do totally other things than what we have thought was necessary in the past. One solution, first solution, I'm going to give you a few. Agile leadership. Instead of managing performance, where we believe that we can just tell people what to do and how to do things, exactly how to do things, and then everything will be fine. We understand it is instead about enabling performance. The Chief Executive Officer needs a new title. It's the Chief Enabling Officer in the future. That's the job of the person running a company. And for leaders in general, it's time to get off that rocking horse where they have a system, a process, a checklist, a status report for everything they do. That's not real leadership. That's administrative leadership. And real leadership, it's hard. That's when you make people go in the direction that you want them to go because they want to go in that direction themselves. It's called motivation, inspirational leadership, and it's a lot harder than this administrative leadership where you just take goals from above and you break them down below, like a machine. I want to tell you about the gardener metaphor because it's the best metaphor I know about agile leadership. The gardener metaphor, imagine that the company here is a garden with trees, flowers, bushes, different vegetables. There is a purpose with this garden, and it could be to be as beautiful as possible, but it could also be to grow some kind of fruits or vegetables or berries. All these plants that grow in the garden, they are there for delivering that purpose somehow. Together, they will make sure that we reach that purpose. They have all different needs. A rose doesn't need the same things as a tulip or an apple tree. So very different needs. The gardener, what is the role of the gardener? Well, it's to be there to take care of the different plants with the different needs. It takes a lot of knowledge about the different plants to be able to do that. I need to know what plant needs more sunshine, what plant needs more water, what plant needs to be in the shadow, what plant needs to have a lot of space around themselves. And which plants like to grow very much together like this? A lot of them in the same place. Maybe some different plants like to grow together beside each other and kind of, even if they are different, they kind of give and take. There are plants like that. So this is the gardener's task. Take care of the system. Take care of the earth, the culture, the whole value system of the garden. It's useless to scream to a flower, grow faster, better, develop, quicker, more, now. It's useless. It doesn't care. The only thing that the gardener can do is to create the right prerequisites in this garden, the right conditions, so that the plants want to grow and together fulfill the purpose. So if we put down this little seed and it doesn't grow, in spite of us doing everything right, what could it be? What could be wrong with that little seed? Well, we need to find out why it can't grow. Why doesn't it grow? Why is it just lying there? It could be that it's sick, it could go through a divorce, or maybe have some problems. And we need to help that seed to become better so that, it can start growing. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's a bad seed. There are bad seeds. Regardless of what we do, it will not grow. And then we need to help it out, maybe to another garden where it can grow. So this is a very good metaphor, I think, for agile leadership to think about. I believe that all leaders and all HR people in the future are merging into one role, and that's the agile people coach role. If you look at the agile coach role, Lisa Atkins' framework, you go into roles like facilitator, mentor, trainer, or coach. Here we have some more roles, and we also have a new role called reflective observer. And that would be the ability to step out of the system and look at the system objectively and think about, okay, when I step in again in this system, which role should I then take to be able to serve the people and the organization in the best possible way? And that takes a very mature person to be able to do that. Stand outside the system, look at it, step inside, and take the right role. An agile people coach has deep people skills. Probably an agile people coach comes from HR or leadership. They have had one of these roles before, or maybe they have been an agile coach. Usually maybe not come from IT. Maybe sometimes they come from IT. It takes deep people skills to become an agile people coach. Second solution I want to talk about is engagement and motivation. So we have on this axis high levels of motivation. What is motivation? I want to start by defining motivation with you here. High engagement and motivation means that we have high levels on employee satisfaction. That's number one. You see the happy sleeper over there? Because the levels on organizational contributions is very low. So that person is obviously not really engaged. Then we have the other one up there, the crash and burner, who has very high values on organizational contribution, but very low level on employee satisfaction. And that person is, of course, not engaged either. To be engaged, we need high levels on both. That's when we get an engaged person. So people are in different places here, and it doesn't matter really where they are today. What matters is that we help them to move up to that corner up there, gradually, continuously improving towards that corner. That's what matters. Finding your why. Why do you do what you do? This might be each and every person's most important responsibility. Why do you do what you do? Knowing yourself on that kind of deep level so that you understand yourself and what your motivation is. What are your deep basic needs? And we have, in everyday life, we usually don't think about this, why do I do what I do? But the fact is that everybody, all people, are motivated by the same things, just to a different degree. So we have the same basic needs, but on different levels. And that makes up your unique personality, why you do what you do. Self-hugging is when we are biased. It's when we believe that what's best for me and my basic needs is not just right for me, but it's also right for everybody else. And this is something we all do all of the time. Sometimes we talk about extrinsic motivation, but extrinsic motivation doesn't really exist. It's only intrinsic motivation. And all motivation comes from within. In Agile, we often talk about Dan Pink's mastery, autonomy, and purpose, but we have a lot more motivational factors. There is power, there is independence, curiosity, acceptance, tranquility, honor, eating, physical activity, social contact. We have a lot of basic needs. So companies that really focuses on finding these basic needs in people and focuses their performance management systems around that are the companies that get the most out of their people also. You see the world as you are. You see it through your own glasses, through your own reference frames. This is quite a funny picture, but this is exactly how it is. We are all self-hugging and biased. And this is what this picture shows. And we many times tend to hire the people who are exactly like ourselves. This personal chemistry that happens when you kind of find somebody where you feel so good because this person is like me, we can talk, we can understand each other. But then we get a lack of diversity in our teams, and cognitive diversity is what we need. We need different people with different motivational factors and basic needs. And when we can work in these teams without having too much conflict, a little bit of conflict is always good, but without too much conflict, then we get the best result and the best possible outcome. Behavior is a function of personality and environment, and behaviors make up the culture in companies. So, can we change personalities? Probably not. We cannot change our personalities. What we can change in this equation, as you see, is the environment. So, it's the system, again. How do we change behaviors? By changing the system. A very good exercise that I wanted to send with you today is the washing instructions exercise. So, every piece of clothes have a piece of washing instruction where it says, do this with me, but don't do this. We can do that also with people, because all people also have washing instructions. I like to be treated in a certain way, and you can be sure it's not the same way as another person likes to be treated. We always say, treat people like you want to be treated, but nothing could be more wrong. We should never treat people the way that you want to be treated, but the way that they want to be treated instead. So we need to find out, what are people's washing instructions? What are their do's and don'ts? Do this with your whole team. Put the result on flip charts in your room, in your team room, and then you look at, do this with me, don't do this with me. For all of your people, and you will find that you will learn something new about your team members. It's a very good exercise. The other solution here is obviously increasing psychological safety. And I've been thinking a lot about this. Psychological safety is probably the thing that is the most important of everything to increase. And why is that? Because often we are sitting silent. we are not speaking up when we have a question. We might be too busy managing impressions, or we are afraid to look stupid, you know? And we don't tell other people about our ideas because we are a bit scared that, you know, they might just think that I'm a pain in the ass when somebody might be looking for a solution to a problem. And sometimes we don't tell other people about our superior observations about a certain situation. Although in this case, the nurse obviously knows something about the patient that the doctor doesn't know. And this is very easy to manage. Nobody wants to go to work and look, you know, stupid and incompetent. Everybody wants to be smart and helpful. So you don't make mistakes. You don't admit that you do mistakes. You don't speak up. You don't rock the boat. So you keep kind of still instead. Instead, we need to go first and ask that question, because then we open up for other people to do the same thing. We need to tell other people about our ideas, because psychological safety is a belief that we will not be backstabbed if we come with new ideas. And we need to tell other people about our observations, because sometimes, like in this case, it can save lives. They showed this in hospitals. So this is how we feel in the beginning when we are just, you know, starting a team. We are feeling a bit insecure. We need a lot of reassurance. We need to have that platform of psychological safety. And it's also part of the modern agile framework. And Google made this study where they proved, 2-year study called Aristotle, where they proved that this psychological safety platform was the most important to create high-performing teams with a lot of great output. A team climate characterized by interpersonal trust and mutual respect, in which people are comfortable being themselves. That's how we define psychological safety. Quick final exercise for you now. Have you ever held back from sharing anything at work? It could be something you were working on, something, a complaint you had, or a question or something, because you were worried about how other people might react if you asked that, or if you told about that complaint. So take 1 or 2 minutes and turn to your neighbor again and tell them about this. Sorry, we don't have more time for that discussion. Maybe you can continue that in the break later. How do we then create psychological safety if we are leaders or HR people? Well, we have to go first. We have to be vulnerable. We have to admit that we make mistakes. This is how we get other people to open up and also admit their mistakes, so that everybody can learn from mistakes in our organizations. We need to ask a lot of questions. We need to admit that I don't have the answers. What do you think? Do you have any ideas how we can solve this problem? And we need to let people try. We need to let them fail, and we need to let them try again, because we believe they learn. So bad circles are where we are afraid to admit mistakes. We start to blame other people, you know, these political games. And then we are also less likely to share different views with each other. And we can fall victim for the common knowledge effect. Instead, we want the good circles where we feel comfortable admitting mistakes, we show our vulnerability with each other, we learn from failure, we openly share ideas, and then we have a much better innovation and decision-making climate. This is what we need for the future to stay competitive in a complex world. The psychological safety game is a fantastic game that you can play with your teams to open up and start talking about these things. A last picture. I've talked about how different people are here today, how unique we are, and that everybody's different from each other. But regardless of that, we are still the same. We still have a lot of things in common. The people around you probably also has beliefs, perspectives, families, want to have a good life, they want to experience joy, and they want to be the best people they can be in their lives. That's common for everybody in this world. And with that, I would just like to show my book. If you want to read more, read the book. If you want to know more, go to agilepeople.com. That's my website. Thank you very much for today.